Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population and with little or no meaningful engagement leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.
It's barely half a way through the year 2025, yet the political drumbeat towards 2027 is growing louder. While the ruling APC remains preoccupied with power retention and the PDP reposition itself for relevance, the real issues about governance and failure, economic instability, insecurity, and institutional distrust remains unanswered. Amid the noise, the African Democratic Congress ADC is presenting itself as a thought force. Now, this enters the real with a bold claim of offering an alternative to Nigerians. But Nigerians are asking who is focused on solving today's problem, not just chasing tomorrow's vote. It's another episode on your favorite primetime show. My name is Mercy Ebokwo. It's a beautiful, beautiful evening right here in the city of Lagos, and we're broadcasting live in the heart of the city, Victoria Island, if you like to say. And tonight, the conversation would be about the Thought Force Coalition ahead of the 2027. Now, remember that Ways is all about you. You are the why in the way, so join the conversation daily and add your voice. All you need to do is just head over to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV, hit the subscribe button, like, share, and invite your friends to join the show now. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this particular topic when the phone lines are open, so please do well to join the conversation. But as always, I'd like you to ponder on my quote for today. We don't just need a third force, we need a force that puts Nigeria first. Another group of politicians with new colors and habit. So I like to take that again. We don't just need a third force. We need a force that puts Nigeria first, not another group of politicians with new colors and old habits. That's according to Amaka Obi, youth advocate for the Nigerian people. Well, we'll talk about this when we return. I have to go off on this particular break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Now, this is the point where I tell you what I found in the news. So there's so much is happening in the space, and sometimes 3 stories, not enough. But let me tell you what caught my interest today. The federal government has officially set 16 years as a minimum age for admission into Nigerian tertiary institution. According to the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji, he made the announcement today, and, you know, it's in collaboration with the JAM policy of the meeting that had, and they were stressing that the age benchmark is not official and not negotiable. So if you're thinking about that protest, just cancel it. It's never going to happen. So he warned that any admission outside the central admission processing system will be deemed illegal, adding that the policy is aimed to align with academic readiness with cognitive maturity. Well, the truth is, some quarters are saying that as much as, you know, the age of 16 it's viable, but what happens to the people who are already very mature? It might just be a lot. So at age 16, are people ready for the life, you know, because if you have to go to a university, you have to be very independent, readiness, just discipline. It takes a lot. It's a different ballgame entirely. So the work falls back to the home. But I think that this conversation will be a conversation for another time. Now, let me tell you another one that caught my interest today. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, has issued a flood alert for the month of July. As we speak right now, it's raining where I am. I'm not sure where you are. Well, NIMET has put out that warning that 21 states faces a high risk of flash flooding. So everybody sit back, sit tight, and get ready. Now, the states include Sokoto, Kaduna, Zamfara, Yobe, Bauchi, Bayelsa, Jigawa, Adamawa, Taraba, Niger, Nasarawa, Benue, Ogun, Ondo, Lagos, Delta, Edo, Cross River, and River State, Akwa Ibom. The conversation about flood, so as much as if you look at developed climes and if you look at other parts of the world, you understand that some of the disaster that they face is natural, is a natural disaster. So it is not man-made. But most times, if you come back to Nigeria, let's not talk about Africa, but let's stay with Nigeria now. The flooding, flash flood and all of that, if you want to look at the reason why we experience all of this flooding, it's not a natural disaster, but it's because of you know, human factors. So if you look at how we manage our environment, if you look at human behavior in the environment over time, over the years, you would also want to agree with me that we are very responsible for some of the flooding that we actually experience, right? Because the habit is that sometimes we find ourselves tossing things in the gutters. Yes, we dump waste in the gutters. When it rains, we feel like that's the time. Oh, you have a drainage system in front of you. So you take all of the refuse that you have, you toss it in the gutter. Whoever is selling outside, just toss everything inside. Water will take it. But guess what happens? It's going to clog the drainages. And then again, because it is in the nature of water, water will always find its way. So it will forcefully get out. And then we begin to find or experience, you know, the flood that it is. Again, you also find out that there's also illegal structures. Sometimes there are no drainages. So all of this also contributes. You want to talk about the dams that are released, bordering nation and all of that. Do we have the information early? Do we act upon this information? However, residents have been advised to relocate if necessary, I beg your pardon, clear the drainages, just like I was saying, prepare emergency kits and switch off electricity and gas during this flood. This is the awareness. So please, right, please, let's take this into cognizance wherever it is that you find yourself. It's going to rain. And I beg, I don't know, but just look around your environment. Look at the gutters. Let's develop a healthy habit. This is despite receiving over 620 billion naira in the ecological funds, funding showing that many of these states remain poorly equipped to mitigate the issue of flood impact and all of the concerns that it has, the disaster and all of that, the preparedness. But if the government has failed, or those who are saddled with the responsibility of governance, 620 billion is a lot of money. So some of these states have taken part of the share of this amount of money, but then again, there's nothing to show for it. I'm saying that we have to be responsible as individuals. So look around your environment, take care of your environment, please. Do take care of your environment. So you don't wake up and find out, because it's not funny. We see these things and then they become memes. They become memes, but it's not funny because lives would be lost. People would die. It's the end of it. Let's just stay together and stay alive as much as we can. And this is another one that I found again. JAM, the Joint Admission Matriculation Board, that's JAM, has released the official cutoff mark for admission into tertiary institution for 2025 and 2026 academic session. Now, according to the new guidelines, the minimum score for universities is pegged at 150. This was not what we dealt with. Well, it's fine. Polytechnics remain, you know, 100. The cut-off point is 100 mark, or however they want to call that. Colleges of education is pegged at 100. So cut-off point admission to universities is 150, 100 for colleges of education, and it remains 100. And colleges of nursing sciences have officially pegged it at 140. Like I said, the previous admission cutoff score for 2024 we're looking at 4 universities, 140, 100 for polytechnics, 100 for colleges of education, and 140, although it was not officially stated, for colleges of nursing. But if you remember vividly, I think between 2010 to about 2016, the cutoff mark was about 200 and above. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Times have really changed, because in my time it has to be 200 and more than 200. So anything below 200, 150, you are joking. You are a joker. But this is what it is. Like I would say again, it's a conversation for another time. We have to run off on this particular break, and when we return, we'll be looking at a conversation for today. Please stay with us.
Life is made up of moments, some that fill us with joy, others that test our strength. Welcome to Heartlines. This is our space to explore the highs and lows of human connection, the love, the heartbreak, and resilience that shapes our life. From relationships to friendships, parenting to partnerships, and so much more. Every week, we share stories and conversations that define us, navigating love, separations, the struggles of parenting, dealing with anxiety and managing the pressures and stress of life. Real conversations that bring us closer, helping us heal, grow, and connect. So join me Mondays through Fridays at 10 p.m. for Heartlines, the show where we connect hearts, have real conversations with real people, one story at a time.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light from my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria's energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we'll analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
You're still watching Ways hashtag What Are You Saying? It's a beautiful Tuesday evening right here in the city, in the heart of the city, Lagos. That's where we're broadcasting from. The African Democratic Congress, ADC, is leading the Third Force coalition ahead of Nigeria's 2027 election, bringing together major opposition voices to challenge the ruling APC President Bola Tinubu. Now, key figures in the coalition include former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, a former Anambra Governor Peter Obi. That's, I think, might literally have like a question mark. I'm not sure, because there's a lot of back and forth with all of that. Now, an ex-governor or Kaduna Governor Nasir El-Rufai, the movement signals a serious bid to reshape Nigeria's political future. Now, to make sense of all of this, unfold and talk about more of this is Jonathan Abang, who is joining us. He's the South-South coordinator of the Take It Back movement. Yes. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us. Hello, Jonathan. Oh no, this is what we don't anticipate. Yesterday, I went on that rant about talking about why we're not having a functional system. I'm being told that we have Jonathan back. Jonathan Abang, thank you so much for joining me tonight on the show. Oh no. Well, so the conversation for tonight, we're looking at the coalition. It's a conversation that is making the rounds in different quarters. So if you go to social media, wherever it is that you look at, the conversation is about the thought force. But again, this is actually happening earlier than usual, just like we had the conversation with Marianne the other time, that the politicking and the politics and all that's going on is happening too early. Now, prior to this time, we understand that it happens, but not at this particular time. But if you look at the entire space, all the content, all the information is about the coalition, is about 2027 election. And we're just already in 2025. But we will talk more about this. We'll look at those who have actually formed this party, those who are part of this party projecting the coalition. Again, if you also remember the word thought force, in 2023, the thought force was a very dominant word in our lexicon, and the thought force, came to be a thing in the Nigerian lexicon due to, if you remember, the former president Olusegun Obasanjo, at the time where there was a desire or an intention to come back for a third term. I don't think that was the case. So he wrote a letter to the former president, Buhari, and then he talked about the fact that the APC and the PDP had failed, and so therefore there was a desire. I think that it was born from there. That was the origin of the word, the thought force. Do we have Jonathan back, please? Okay. Hopefully we have Jonathan connect with us, but in the meantime, we'll just go on this quick break, and when we return, the conversation continues right here. Please stay with us.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, lives a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.
This season on Heartlands, we're committed to making a difference in people's lives. So Heartlands, in partnership with Reda Consult, is offering 12 free slots of counseling every quarter for people in need of professional counseling. Additionally, we're taking on 2 pro bono cases for individuals navigating a challenging divorce. To participate, please send an email to counsel@vedaconsult.com with your story. Our team will carefully review all submissions and will contact all the shortlisted candidates. Heartlands is live Mondays to Fridays at 10 p.m, so engage with us.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light for my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we will analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
You're still watching Ways, hashtag what are you saying? Tonight, we're talking about the coalition ahead of the 2027 election, the thought force, if you like to say. Remember vividly that the thought force was also a very prominent word in our lexicon in 2023. Again, we're back at it. The election year is quite far, but then again, it is what's happening across different parts. I do have Jonathan Abang, who is a South-South coordinator, Take It Back movement, who joins us tonight to make sense of all of this. Jonathan, thank you so much. I'm glad that the network and power supply and everything has allowed you to join us.
It's terrible, Mercy. I must apologize to Upgrade TV fans and those watching, Nigerians and those the world over. Just as you were about introducing me, probably the third force took the light. I don't know, but that's just it. It's a pleasure to be here.
That's very comical.
I really hope we'll make light of it.
Okay. So let's start off with this. What do you make about, or what do you make of the, the ADC projecting itself as a third force? I mean, no one would think that the ADC, it's more like if you want to talk about political parties, you want to describe them as an underdog. There's not a political party that's very popular, in the political environment of Nigeria. What are your thoughts on the emerging third force for ahead of the 2027 elections?
Well, thank you for that. I should say this. The ADC is not a third force. We actually had 1979 election where you had the UPN, the MPN, and the MPP. The Nigeria People's Party, the MPP, was basically what was more like the third force back then. In 2023, some may argue that the Labour Party was some sort of a third force because it came to challenge the duopoly of the All Progressive Congress and the People's Democratic Party. But realistically, when you're talking about third force in politics and a political ideology, you should be looking at, a third ideological base. Here we have a situation where the existing duopolies, and at some point in time, now we're even tilting towards a monopoly, a one-party state, and just have one particular ideology. So we don't even have two ideologies per se amongst these political parties that you could say it's actually a genuine third force. If there is something, we have a duopoly of ideological positions when it comes to political parties in Nigeria. The ADC, the APC, the PDP, the Labour Party, the YPP, and the rest of them all have the same ideologies. When it comes to people's welfareism, their policies and what have you, they all support neoliberal policies. The only other party that has stood out in its ideological leaning is the African Action Congress, AAC, which was formed just a couple of years back in 2018. So that's the only one. So we don't really have a third force, as it were. Unfortunately, our friends in the media have given verve and vitality to the narrative being pushed by and bandied about by politicians and some Nigerians who are privileged to occupy public offices over the years. We don't have a third force. The ADC is not a third force. It's just a bandwagon of fellows from different political parties who have switched from different political parties in the past and the ADC is now looking more like a veritable platform to challenge, the party that is in power right now, which is the All Progressive Congress.
Okay, so if you say that the ADC is not a third force, it's just another platform that has put itself there to challenge the ruling party and to maybe unseat the ruling party, because again, we'd also need to understand why the political parties exist. This is the reason they exist. What do you think about it? Do you think that they are the platform? Of course, we know how the APC became. The APC is actually a coalition of, different political parties. So what are your thoughts? Do you think that they stand a chance?
Yeah. Most definitely. There's no doubt about that. Every political party stands a chance. Before the 79 election, we had about 50 political parties. By 83, they were whittled down to 5. In 2019, we had over 90 political parties, and in 2023, they were whittled down to 18. And we heard INEC even tell us that, oh, look, they have over 100 applications now for different political parties, for associations wishing to become political parties. And now the difference between the ADC and the APC is that while the APC was an association, a coalition of existing political parties and factions of some political parties that merged to form the All Progressive Congress, the ADC has always been in existence and has even won elections, State House of Assembly, and the rest of that. That's why it's still there right now. And people are now moving into ADC. More or less, they are resigning from their existing political parties. They are not merging. They are not forming a coalition per se. They are just decamping from one political party to another, which is something that is very common in the Nigerian political scene, right? So that's what is happening. That's the difference between the ADC and the APC. But does the ADC stand a chance? Oh, yes, most definitely. Just as before the 79 election, the 83 election, and it beats. The only thing that was different was the 92 election. We've seen a situation where some political parties could not mount any serious challenge because they were existing mostly around ethnic lines, sub-regional lines, and what have you. We saw that also play out in 2003, in 2007, and in 2011. It was only in 2015 that we saw a major challenge to the PDP, because the PDP somehow in 98, coming to 99, decided to have a more wide national appeal. Now, this will seem like to have AD and APP along mostly regional lines, and that also played out in 2003, played out in 2007, and in 2011. In 2015, the CPC, the AMPP, and the ACN came together to merge to form the APC. And that was when they could easily mount a challenge that defeated the PDP. In 2019, we saw a scenario that resembled the 79 election. 2019, we saw a scenario that resembled the 99 election. And by 2023, we saw something that looked like the 1979 election. So for me, it's just basically people who are coming together to say, okay, how best can we challenge the people around now? And if you ask the question, what exactly are they actually proposing that is different from what was proposed before 2015, what was proposed in 2019, what was proposed in 2011, 2007, and 2003? It's not so different. That's the reality. So It's more of a power game, a power tussle between a privileged few who we refer to as political elites. That's just the reality. Because
but
what you are telling us,
Jonathan, let me cut
yeah?
you. Let me cut you there now. As much as we'll constantly put the argument as to whether it's actually the time for us to have this conversation about 2027 elections in 2025. Again, Nigeria is grappling with so much inflation, insecurity,
Yes.
failing infrastructure, healthcare. There's so much that's going on. Epileptic power supply. The list is almost endless. So whether it's the third force or the coalition or the opposition as it is, do you think that they are speaking to the pains and the needs of the ordinary people or Nigerians?
No, they are not. That's the simple truth. No, they are not. Let's take, for instance, just in your opening segment, you were talking about the issue of the Joint Admission Matriculation Board, JAM, and as well as the federal government saying that, look, the youngest you can be to gain admission into a university, right, a tertiary institution of learning is 16. Now, here's the funny thing, Mercy, and I would like our listeners to know. The youngest person to ever earn a PhD was a German called Carl Wittig, who received his doctorate at the age of 13. Johann Henry Frederick Carl Wittig. He was born in 1800, and by 1814, at the age of 13 years and some change, got his PhD. And then in Nigeria, the youngest PhD holder we've had is Dr. Olaoluwa Oluwadara, and he was just 24. So that means that at this point in time, we do not even stand a chance for someone to beat Dr. Oluwadara's record. Because if you gain admission at 16 into a public institution, most likely strike will happen or one other thing will happen, and you will not leave in 4 years' time. That's the reality we face. And by the time you're done, you do 1 year of mandatory service and then come back to do your MSc or MA, as the case may be, and then proceed for your PhD. You're already 27, 28, 29. That's the reality. What has the ADC said about that? Absolutely nothing. We saw what happened in Yellowater in Benue State. What exactly happened afterwards? Oh, just press releases and press statements. Unfortunately, we have gotten to a point in Nigeria where conversations about the next electioneering cycle start immediately after the final arbitration, the final court, which is the Supreme Court for the presidential and governorship elections, and then the Court of Appeal for the House of Assembly and the National Assembly elections, decide on the issues brought before them, on the appeals brought before them. That's the reality we face on ground. We like to deceive ourselves that we practice what we call democracy in Nigeria. The simple definition is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But what we have right now, helped by the petty bourgeoisie that populates our ruling class right across the country, is a government of the people, where the people go to vote every periodically to elect their leaders, the people who will lead them. But we do not have a government by the people and for the people. A government by the people, it is a participatory government. We are talking about the National Assembly amending the Constitution right now. And the question is, you look at the way they are designing the public hearings, it is difficult for the common man to participate. So we had a town hall meeting in South, for instance, in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State Capital, for the entire South region. How do you expect the farmer in Belekete or in Banuku, or the person in Brass, in Bayelsa, or the person from Degema in Rivers, to find their way to Uyo and not to Ikorekwane, where it was actually held, and then participate for 2 days? It doesn't work. That's not the government by the people. The House of Reps is doing theirs this coming Saturday. And the way it is structured too is difficult for the poor man. So we do not have a government by the people. And because we do not have a participatory government, we don't have a government for the people. That's the reality. For me, it should be too early. We should be focused on governance right now. 2 years in, even before 2 years in, we already saw endorsement campaigns for 2027. When INEC is here to even proclaim the 2027 elections, the Electoral Act 2022, as amended, says INEC has to proclaim the election up to a year before. So we should be looking at February, March next year for INEC proclaiming the 2027 election. But as early as February this year, we already had endorsement campaign. And if you check, for the South-South region where I am from, and even across the country, we are seeing continuous endorsement activities, so much so that governance has taken a backseat. You imagine the National Assembly sitting down, forgetting their jobs as legislators, to go and sit down in a hall in Abuja to move motions.
All right, Jonathan, I think that we seem to be having some sort of... Well, we seem to be having some network disconnection right there. Quite unfavorable. Hopefully we have you, connect with us. But if you're watching and if you can hear us, I mean, we'd like you to be part of the conversation, really. Just send an SMS or WhatsApp to the numbers 081-8038 and 46 and 63. The phone lines are also open. It means you can call the numbers 070-2500 and 77 and 49. Or 070-1424-24 and 20. Let us hear what you have to say. The coalition, the Thought Force Movement coalition ahead of the 2027. Now, all we're trying to say is that in 2023, it was something that was very conversation. It was just a popular thing. Every other day we get to talk about this. And what it means is that you have different political parties or different persons who have come together is a merger. So political party A, B, C, and D come together and say, hey, we want to wrestle and we want to take over power. We want to unseat whoever is in the position of authority. As much as that's good, because if you look at the essence and the reason why political parties exist, just like pressure group, everything that is created has a reason and a purpose. So political parties exist, to wrestle power, to control power, to be in charge and be in government. But that's not even the real deal. It might be the concern for them. The thing is, what is the reason that you're wrestling power for? So we also saw how, in 2015, the APC came in and is on board today. There's a lot that came on board. We're going to fight corruption. It was just going to be quite different. Should we just go on? If I don't have electricity, if you don't have electricity, in the next 6 months, don't vote for me again. In next 1 year, there were just so much rhetorics that was going on, so much pronouncement and statement. So the question we're asking is, at this point in time, the Thought Force movement is back again, the coalition, if you like to say, and the ADC is presenting herself away from the, political parties that you probably would have expected, like the SDP. It looks as though the LP, that's the Labour Party, is out of it. Then you ask, for what purpose? Whose interest is all of this for? At the end of the day, you want to look at the caliber of persons, the people that are represented again, whose interests are they representing? Quite unfortunate that there's lots going on, but we're just begging for answers. We'll just go on this quick break, and when we return, the conversation continues right here. We hope to have Jonathan join us again. Please stay with us. All right, thank you so much for staying tuned. The conversation continues. Jonathan is here. We're talking about the Thought Force movement, the coalition ahead of the 2027 elections. Jonathan, the Electoral Act is quite explicit on why we can't have this kind of conversation, electioneering and campaigning, but that has become a thing in disguise or outrightly. What exactly do you think that we're dealing with, and why is INEC not acting?
It's funny because the Independent National Electoral Commission is just independent by name. That's the reality. There are a whole lot of infractions that political parties commit that you find INEC turning a blind eye. Take, for instance, they are supposed to submit their account details, like a balance sheet to INEC annually. And you ask yourself, how many political parties have actually done that since 1999? That's the reality we face. So, but unfortunately, you see a situation where most times INEC will tell you that they lack manpower, and sometimes they will tell you that, look, they are studying these things, and other times they will tell you they lack prosecutorial powers to enforce certain guidelines and certain aspects of the Electoral Act and the Constitution, which mandates INEC to carry out this action. But here we find ourselves. But you still also find out that at the end of the day, most political parties, and I had this discussion with a stalwart of the People's Democratic Party earlier today, and also a couple of days back with the stalwarts of the APC and the AAC. And I asked, are we not campaigning for 2027 outside of an election cycle? And the answer I was given was that endorsement is not campaign. That endorsement is basically what do you call it? He gave me the phrase that is a political mobilization and orientation, which is part of the roll cover for them by the laws of the land. You see, so it was rather funny. So this is something. But the question then is, why has INEC not even tried to challenge this in court or something like that? Well, you have a situation where most of the INEC staff and what have you, most of the resident electoral commissioners, the national chairman, and the rest of that are appointed by the ruling party. As a matter of fact, we had a situation where a particular national commissioner that was nominated by a nominee for national commissioner by the past administration of President Muhammadu Buhari was a card-carrying member of the All Progressives Congress in Delta State. It was the public outcry that now made that nomination not to scale through. And this is something we've seen over time. Who says there have not been others who went through? In Cross River State, for instance, the Cross River State Independent Electoral Commission, we have commissioners there whom they have shown. So this is something that goes all around. And when you have these individuals there, what do you expect them to do? That they are not Nigerians, or that they are not humans, or that they are not loyal to the powers that put them in that office? That's the reality we face. Unfortunately, that's the reality we face. And it's the reason why we as Nigerians, as citizens, will have to sit down and wait till when they come to meet us that, oh, there's a coalition or there's a conversation about elections before we begin to hold our leaders accountable. Accountability means that from the time that we're in July, they will soon issue out a budget circular for the 2026 budget across the states of the federation and the federal government as well. So that will mean that we have to take a look at that document, study it, and then also ask our lawmakers, ask the ministers from our states and what have you, what exactly are you going to do differently in 2026? We are in a country right now where the 2024 budget is still being implemented in July 2025, and it has even the National Assembly said they can implement it till December. So that means that by 2026, we'll be implementing 2025 budget. So when will the 2026 budget come into? So we have to sit down and discuss. And when people bring conversations, when some of these privileged fellows who bring conversations about third force or coalitions or decamping or defecting or whatsoever, even when the media pushes it, from our devices on social media, we can push the narrative we want, which is governance and administration. When we get to politics, we do it. But right now, the focus should be governance and administration. We should not be distracted with the shenanigans of a select few who have been privileged to occupy certain positions, and some of them have buffeted on our Commonwealth a la carte over the years. And that's why you can find someone tell you and say, okay, how did you buy a Rolls Royce? And they'll tell you we should leave that one first. A public servant in Nigeria, well, your question was on INEC. It just goes to show the kind of people that we are. So when you have someone like that dominate a national commissioner or someone to be resident electoral commissioner, what do you expect the person to do when he calls the shots as a member of the election management body of the Independent National Electoral Commission?
But so for the people now, because from what you've actually said, whether the coalition, whether the opposition, it doesn't really look like all those who have actually come to us and canvassed for votes and acts have always come with the intention to represent the interests of the people. So again, from all the forces and all of the mergers that we have seen, what lessons can be learned from that of the 2019 or from whatever, all of the coalition has happened, 2023 and up until now? What do you think that the people should look out for? What kind of questions should the ordinary people ask?
Now, there was something my colleague, senior colleague and friend, Agba Jalibo, shared with me moments ago, which said that most times the people we, the citizens, refer to as capacity leaders, that when they travel out of the country, they take photographs in very posh environments and send to us, their constituents here in Nigeria, to post on our social media handles and shout capacity, capacity, capacity. That so the next time they send us to we should tell them to replace Nigeria so that we too can go and snap. After all, there's nothing that says we cannot be there. Tomorrow, we may amend the constitution and say, look, we don't want human beings anymore in the National Assembly. We want robots there. And every 4 years, we'll just change the software that you are just occupying an office. And so you are privileged to that. That's the reason why I use I qualify each time I refer to our fellow countrymen occupying these offices as a privilege. What can we learn? First, my fellow Nigerians, the lie that your vote does not count, we should rubbish it, repudiate it, and stuff it down the furthest pit we can find. Our votes do count. For the first time in a while, we saw opposition political parties, not the APC, not the PDP. We had 21 senators that were not they were not in APC and were not in PDP, although a lot of them have now moved to one of these two political parties. What does that tell you? We saw an Okada man win an election into the House of Representatives.
Oh, Jonathan. Jonathan, can you hear me? Jonathan, can you hear me? I mean, you were making a very, very interesting point, and I was just listening. I wanted to hear you land with that particular one. But it's quite unfortunate that we can't hear you, maybe because of your connection. Quite unfortunate, very unfavorable at this point in time. But Jonathan, if you can hear me, can you hear me, please? So I think I'll just take it up from where, the point that he was making. And Jonathan has said that we have to, for the lessons to learn from 2019, 2023 or the coalition. Because again, if we're saying, or if there's a conversation that's going on that what you currently have on the table is not what you want, you're not comfortable with it, you don't like what's happening, again, especially if you look at the fact that it's actually a continuation, it's a continuation of one party to another party. So the APC was actually in power, being led by the former president, Muhammadu Buhari. And of course, now we have Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who's, the president. So there's some sort of continuity. And then you expect that there should be some sort of ease, because of recent times had the president said that it's not viable, it's not doable to fix Nigeria's problem or solve the problem of a country in 2 years. He's talking about 2 years of him being in office. But you want to also look at on the premise that he's coming from, or where he's coming from. There's some sort of continuity. And that's one of the characteristics of government that you will be taught at an elementary level, that government is a continuum. So again, what exactly is the excuse? So if there was a blueprint that has already been established from 2015, it should be some sort of ease. From 2015 up until now, everywhere should just be very slow, sweet, swift, and awesome. We should be reaping the fruit of our labor. But, well, that's not the case, as you can see, and as a lot of people are already saying. So it brings us back to the conversation of if the coalition or if the ruling party, the party that we have actually right now on board is not delivering, and then the coalition or those who are actually coming together, the thought force, whatever you want to target as, is not the real deal, then what exactly is the real deal? It might just be a question that I would ask Jonathan if we're able to have him connect back. So what is the real deal? Now, if there's anything to learn, because we've also had this movement, we've also had this presentation, including the APC. The APC is here as a result of the merger. It's a merger. It was just a combination of what the political parties that have come together. So what lessons can we learn from the people who are coming to present the platform and say, hey, we're the ones to turn the country around. We're the ones to make sure that everything is okay and that you'll be in the land that is flowing with milk and honey. I don't think that the Nigerian people are asking for too much. So what are the lessons that we need to learn is the question. And one of the things that Jonathan had said, or he mentioned in the course of this conversation, is that you see the whole notion of saying that your vote does not count is a lie. And while he said that, I wish you could see my reaction. I nodded to that because I can agree. The truth is, your votes actually count. It is just a lie. It is always a lie that is being told to you, by those who want to control the narrative, whatever it is you want to call them, the political gladiators, to just make you, discourage you from coming out to vote. And that's why, as much as we had a lot of registration, those who turned out to register to be part of the elections in 2023, when we looked at the turnout, it was nothing to write home about. Then you could see that, looking at that election, you could see that there was, as much as some people turned out, you could also see some people were not interested. People were just going about their businesses and like nothing had happened or nothing is even happening. And that's not the case, because every other time I go on the street or I'm on, interacting with people, you always hear people just sound very defeatist, beaten down, giving up and saying, our vote does not count. No, not we vote, or our vote they count for this country. That's what they say. No. I don't feel worry myself for, vote they count. Whether you vote or you don't vote, that's a lie. So your vote counts. That's the truth. The number, the power is in the number. If you understand, if the people understand that the power is in the number and the power lies in your hand, until the day Nigerians, all of us, you that's looking at me now, yes, you, I'm talking to you, you understand that the power is in your hands and that you control the narrative and that you are the one that's powerful, because you've been told that, no, you don't matter in all of this. You do matter. The power is in your hands, but you don't know that. And because you don't know that, you just act differently and behave anyhow. So it discourages a lot of people to come out. And people say, oh, it doesn't matter. They will always do what they do. No. If you come out, it is more difficult for the system to be truncated if more people come out to vote. So yes, this should not discourage you, regardless of what's going on in the system now, regardless of what's happening, regardless of what happened in 2023. If we sit back and think about who is in charge and who is in control, then you would understand that the power lies in your hand. It's a conversation that we'll continue to have. It's quite unfortunate that it's just in 2025. We're already talking about the election that is not very close, 2 years away from us. It's the Electoral Act prohibits any sort of campaigning. But as the people that we are, we're already hearing the excuses that it's some sort of evangelism, it's some sort of endorsement, it's not outright, campaign. And so there would always be, let's go to court and defend all of that, because that will be the next conversation. So let's go to court. And when you go to court, there will be different interpretation and they'll win. But we already know the gimmicks and the plan that were all that's actually going on. So it's just for us to sit up and ask the relevant question. Again, there's also some sort of constitutional review that's going on. So do you know that there's a constitutional review that's going on? how can the people be part of the constitution? We have constantly queried. If you go online, if you go in the system, you hear people say that, oh, you know, the constitution does not reflect the interest of the people. It's a military constitution, a constitution that was written by the military, we the people. Because again, if you look at the 1999 constitution, you know, it starts by saying we the people. Who and you and who is we the people? Because I wasn't there when that constitution was made, and that's the truth. So which people does it represent the interest of the people? Now that you're having a constitutional review, how many Nigerians are aware? How many people, those in the hinterlands, I mean, those in those places, even those who are even in the city, how many persons are aware? How many persons are part of it? So at the end of the day, this review that is happening, when at the, you know, the conclusion and everything that you have, would you have the interest of the people reflected? It's just so much that's going. This is the time where we say, how do we have a budget cycle? Because I thought for once, just after, you know, president, between the time we had the former president and the current president, it looked like we had returned technically to the budget cycle of having the budget between, you know, ending from December, and then you have a new budget cycle running from January. Yes, because that's what it's supposed to be. So the presentation at the end of the day, we had anticipated that the presentation had taken a different turn, and the you know, the budget cycle will be running differently. But that's not the case. So you now have 2024 budget that was not implemented because the process and the delay and everything happened late, and so it's currently running concurrently. It has an implication for development. Again, you want to look at how much is allocated to the budget. This is not just at the center, because it's not only the federal government that exists. You have other parts of government, but usually we're always focused on at the center. So we call on the president. There are 36 states in this country, including the FCT. That means that you have a state where you're from. It doesn't matter where you are resided. Well, I'm being told that we have to go at this point in time. This conversation will continue. We have no business talking about the 2027 elections in 2023. But however, being that that is the case, we can have this conversation side by side. The issue of governance should not be relegated to the back. Ask your leaders, those who are representing you at the state assembly, at the federal assembly, your local government chairman. There's going to be a local government elections. We all have to be involved. You cannot fold your hands or cross your fingers and expect a different thing to happen when you're not involved and asking the right question and being part of the entire process. That's all we're saying tonight. Thank you so much for being part of the show. And Jonathan, unfortunately, I will not say Nigeria happened to you. I just hope that we can just have a very smooth, time where everyone can just have a great time, because basic life is basic. It's not supposed to be too much. But thank you for tuning in. 8 o'clock up until this moment, it has been an amazing time. Jonathan, Abang, thank you so much for being part of the show. Hopefully, we're able to have you in another time in a better condition, and we'll continue with this conversation. But before I go, I'd like that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's at Official Upgrade TV, and you can also interact with us further. Peradventure, you were unable to call or, connect with us. Drop a comment, and most importantly, follow us on all of our social media platforms and engage. And remember to like, share, comment, and invite your friends and family to watch the show afterwards. And follow us. Very important. Now, if you missed out on a quote for today, this is what it's got to say. The biggest asset of this country is in the north. Okay. So I think that this is quite different from what, we had earlier on. But that's what you have on the screen. Thank you so much. All things being equal, I'll see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.